When you are living in an unfair system, you are faced with the question of whether to comply with unfair rules. You may start questioning whether it is our duty to disobey rules that are becoming more and more obviously unfair. Rules that were set up to keep people in their places. Now the rules are being updated to take even more from us. Like the recent budget, economic policies are being set in a way to make sure the mega rich get richer whilst you and I struggle. It is now very obvious to see, for anyone willing to take a look, what is really happening behind the Downing Street doublespeak. My point is not to incite class divide, but to inform you of a very practical matter that we all need to consider for ourselves and our future generations, especially if you are self-employed or own small businesses. Payroll employees should also take notice, as there are ways you can also pay less taxes that most taxpayers will not be aware of. Most people assume not complying with tax laws would result in serious consequences. Most people assume only the rich can afford to dodge taxes because they can hire expensive accountants. What if I told you this is not entirely true? And you could also implement strategies that can help you pay less or no taxes at all. Most people act on perception. They do not have a good understanding of reality. Most people are acting on fear, which is the government and HMRC's biggest tool. I have worked with two of the biggest accounting firms and also smaller practices. I saw the corruption firsthand within the first 2 years of my career. I saw how big corporations work with big practices to keep the wheel turning. I saw firsthand how big businesses and individuals dodge taxes whilst the general public have to deal with covering the gap. It didn't make sense to me that only the rich could get away with this. I left that world not long after passing my chartered accountancy exams back in 2012 and started working for myself. My objective was to determine whether the average individual and small businesses could employ aggressive tax strategies to pay little or no taxes, just like the mega rich and big corporations. Turns out we can. Many of them have been used by previous generations, but somehow they are not as widely known. I have updated these techniques to fit the current surveillance era. Along with these old strategies, I have curated and stumbled upon new techniques to avoid paying taxes. HMRC can't do much about these strategies, even if they somehow manage to notice them in the first place. As long as you follow some simple guidance that could save you thousands of pounds in taxes every year. Anyone can use these strategies. The exact architecture of the implementation will be different to fit your life and your circumstances. The principle is ultimately the same. What most people fail to realize, and most accountants are shy to acknowledge, is the subjective element of accounts and tax returns. In this era of social media marketing where every individual can effectively become their own brand ambassador, the scope to be creative with the subjective elements of your accounts is much greater. I do not understand why all accountants are not implementing strategies like this. If you are an accountant, then I urge you to do right by your client and be creative to achieve the outcome they want to achieve. Do not perpetuate the fear-mongering of HMRC because it seems like the easier option. The recent budget should be reason enough to question whether following the rules can any longer represent the right thing to do. The rules are not set up to support the general public. They are set up in favor of the ultra-wealthy, which makes sense since they are setting the rules in the first place. Following these rules is nothing more than complying with your own subjugation. If you are working hard every day, then take control over your taxes and find out exactly what you can do. You will be surprised at how much you don't know. You could have purchased electronic devices which entitle you to rebates, which you can claim without hiring an accountant. Do not fall for the fear-mongering of the authorities and accountants that toe the line. Just because HMRC have access to your bank accounts and can see all your transactions, it does not mean they have you. The most important thing is the narrative around these transactions and how your story fits with the numbers. It is true HMRC is increasing their efforts to catch people, so you need to increase your efforts to cover yourself in order to hold on to money that is rightfully yours. HMRC cannot pin you down just because they can see all your transactions, unless you allow them to. You don't need to take any of this on board and you can just comply with the new system if you wish. But ask yourself, would you simply hand over your hard-earned money to someone just because they asked for it? Maybe they promised they will look after you. They promised they will fix your schools and hospitals. but instead they lose it all gambling, for you to then pick up the losses when the next crisis hits. We must have a limit to our tolerance of economic injustice. You would be the perpetrator of injustice on your own people if you fail to see simple and risk-free strategies to avoid paying taxes. Being creative in your accounting is not doing anything wrong. Rather, you're fighting injustice. You are standing up against a system set up by a group of people that show no signs of caring about you or your children. A group of people that do what they like but expect you to follow the rules. A group of people that do not pay taxes and instead demand it from you. You complying with their rules is nothing more than accepting that you and yours are subservient to the elite ruling class. If you would like to know more, then visit my Substack where I will be posting about these strategies. YouTube is not the place to discuss these openly. If you would like help with your specific cases, if you need a second opinion on what your accountant is telling you to do, then subscribe to my Substack and send me your questions. I will answer them all.